Commander Marcus Rivera had endured 3 months aboard the research vessel Meridian without incident. The deep space mission to catalog exoplanets in the Kepler 442 system had been routine, until they discovered the derelict ship drifting in the asteroid belt. The vessel's hull bore no resemblance to any known human or alien architecture. Its crystalline surface seemed to pulse with a faint bioluminescent glow, and the airlock had opened at their approach as if sensing their presence. The away team had found the ship empty except for a single occupant in what appeared to be a medical bay. She couldn't have been more than 4 feet tall, her skin a pale lavender that seemed to shimmer under the ship's artificial lighting. Her limbs were delicately proportioned, almost childlike, but her large amber eyes held an intelligence that spoke of centuries, perhaps millennia, of accumulated knowledge. When she'd awakened from her stasis pod, she'd spoken in perfect English, claiming to have learned their language from intercepted transmissions. "I am Kira," she had said simply, her voice carrying harmonic undertones that seemed to resonate in frequencies beyond normal human hearing. "My ship is dying. I require shelter." Captain Rodriguez had approved her temporary asylum aboard the Meridian, assigning her to the auxiliary crew quarters. But Kira had other plans. Marcus discovered this when he returned to his quarters after a 16-hour shift analyzing mineral samples from the asteroid field. His small but private cabin was one of the few luxuries afforded to senior staff, complete with a real mattress instead of the standard sleep pods used by junior crew members. Kira had somehow bypassed the electronic lock and made herself comfortable on his bed, curled up like a cat in the exact center of the mattress. She wore what appeared to be a form-fitting garment made of the same crystalline material as her ship, which seemed to adjust its opacity based on her emotional state, currently translucent enough to reveal the gentle rise and fall of her breathing. "Excuse me," Marcus said, his voice carefully controlled. "This is my quarters." Her amber eyes opened, fixing on him with an intensity that made his skin prickle. "Your sleeping arrangements are inadequate for proper thermoregulation," she stated matter-of-factly. "My species requires thermal contact for optimal cellular repair during dormancy periods. Your body temperature is 2.3 degrees warmer than the ambient temperature of this vessel. That doesn't explain why you're in my bed." Kira tilted her head, her movements unnaturally fluid. "Your pheromone signature indicates elevated stress levels. Prolonged isolation has caused deterioration in your psychological markers. Mutual thermal regulation would benefit both our species." Marcus wanted to argue, to point out the dozens of regulations this violated, but exhaustion weighed heavily on his shoulders. The past weeks of analysis work had pushed him to his limits, and sleep had become increasingly elusive in the sterile environment of the ship. "I need sleep," he said finally. "Real sleep." "Then sleep," Kira replied, shifting to one side of the mattress but not leaving. "I will not harm you." Against his better judgment, and because the alternative was reporting the situation and dealing with the bureaucratic nightmare that would follow, Marcus dimmed the lights and lay down on the opposite edge of the bed, maintaining as much distance as possible. It lasted exactly 47 minutes. Marcus woke to find Kira pressed against his back, her small arms wrapped around his torso with surprising strength. Her body temperature was several degrees cooler than human normal, creating a pleasant contrast against the ship's recycled air. More surprisingly, he felt genuinely rested for the first time in weeks. "Your cortisol levels have decreased by 37%, Kira murmured against his shoulder blade, her voice vibrating through his bones. "Sleep quality improved by 49% based on your breathing patterns and neural activity fluctuations." Marcus tried to pull away, but her grip tightened with inhuman strength. "How are you measuring my neural activity?" "My species possesses natural bioelectric sensitivity. We evolved as empathic symbionts." Her explanation carried no hint of apology. "Your dreams were less fragmented." The nightmares about the mining accident on Titan did not surface. The mention of Titan made Marcus freeze. He'd never spoken of that incident to anyone aboard the Meridian, the cave-in that had claimed 3 lives while he'd been safely topside reviewing geological surveys. The guilt had haunted him for 2 years. "You can read my thoughts." "Not thoughts. Emotions. Pain. Fear. Kira's arms loosened slightly, allowing him to turn and face her. Up close, her features were even more alien, her nose barely more than 2 small slits, her mouth wider than human proportions suggested it should be. Your species carries too much solitary suffering. It is inefficient. And your solution is to crawl into bed with strangers? You are not a stranger. I have observed your behavioral patterns for 72 hours. You show compassion to subordinates, maintain ethical standards under stress, and exhibit protective instincts toward your crew. These are admirable qualities. Her eyes seemed to glow faintly in the dim cabin lighting. Also, your bed is significantly more comfortable than the standard crew accommodations. Despite himself, Marcus felt the corner of his mouth twitch upward. So this is partially about thread count. Thread count is a factor, Kira admitted with what might have been humor. But primarily, I require thermal contact for cellular regeneration. My ship's life support systems failed progressively over several decades. I have been in partial stasis, surviving on minimal energy reserves. The scientific implications hit Marcus like a cold wave. How long were you alone out there? Approximately 87 of your years. The number hung in the air between them, carrying implications that made Marcus's 3 months of isolation seem insignificant. He studied her face, looking for signs of psychological trauma, but her expression remained serene. Your species doesn't experience loneliness the same way humans do, he realized. We experience it more intensely, Kira corrected. But we also understand that isolation is temporary. Connection is inevitable. We simply wait. Marcus felt something shift in his chest, a loosening of tension he hadn't realized he'd been carrying. And you waited 87 years. I waited for the right thermal signature, she said, her arms tightening around him again. Your body temperature, heart rate variability, and electromagnetic field create optimal conditions for my recovery cycle. I'm basically a living heating pad. A living heating pad with excellent sleep hygiene and minimal snoring. There was definitely humor in her voice now. I have monitored 17 other crew members. Your sleeping patterns are the most compatible with my needs. The absurdity of the situation wasn't lost on Marcus, a xenobiologist being studied and categorized by his subject. But as Kira's cooler body temperature regulated his own heat distribution, he found himself relaxing in a way he hadn't experienced since childhood. This arrangement is temporary, he said, more to himself than to her. All arrangements are temporary, Kira replied philosophically. The universe is in constant flux. Entropy increases. Stars die. Species evolve. But thermal comfort is available now. Marcus closed his eyes, feeling his breathing sync with hers, a slower, deeper rhythm that seemed to pull him toward sleep. What happens when we reach the next station? Unknown variables make prediction impossible, she said softly. But for the next 7 hours and 43 minutes, you will sleep without dreams of Titan. Your cellular repair will be optimized. And I will continue to exist. That's very practical. My species values practical solutions to biological needs. Her voice was growing fainter as sleep pulled at both of them. Emotional complications are inefficient. But as Marcus drifted off, held in the embrace of an alien who had waited nearly a century for the right sleeping partner, he wondered if efficiency was really what either of them was seeking. Perhaps some needs transcended species barriers, and connection, however unexpected, was simply another form of survival. In the morning, he would have to file a report. There would be questions, protocols, and probably a psychological evaluation. But for now, in the quiet darkness of deep space, two beings from different worlds shared the most basic requirement of conscious life, the need to not be alone. The ship's artificial night cycle continued its steady rhythm, carrying them deeper into unexplored space, while in Cabin 7C, a human and an alien discovered that some bridges between species were built not with words or technology, but with simple physical presence and the willingness to trust a stranger with vulnerability. When morning came, Marcus woke alone. But the impression of Kira's form remained in the mattress beside him, along with a small crystalline device that hummed with the same harmonic frequencies as her voice, a gift, perhaps, or simply proof that the night had been real.